In the 1830s, Samuel Morse was developing the telegraph. Until that time, about the fastest you could send a message anywhere was by carrier pigeon. And I'm told they used those up through World War II if you couldn't string a line for a telephone. But in any event, he created that and the world was changed and instantaneous communication was born. But of course, we weren't using voices yet. We were just using electrical impulses that were very simple and could not carry a voice. But then came Alexander Graham Bell. In 1876, he said those eternal words over the phone to his helper in the next room, "Watson, I need you." And the telephone was born, and we haven't been left alone since. He also, Alexander Graham Bell, created the company that we know as Ma Bell or AT&T back then. And so it was that voice was able to be communicated over us. And as I said, we've never been the same since. And you know that Alexander Graham Bell said, "I don't even want to have one of those in my office because it will distract me." That's exactly what he said. Sort of like one of those guys at IBM saying, "Oh, no one will ever need a personal computer." Well, how many of you, when you were in elementary school in science class or somewhere else, your class got 2 cans, tin cans left over. You punched a hole in the end of each of them and you put a long string between them with a button on either end, and you talked to each other through that? Did any of y'all do that? Any of y'all do that? Well, that was pretty cool. But when you were in youth group or maybe somewhere else, do you remember sitting around in a circle? Sitting around in a circle and someone would start a message going around, It would be something like, "Tomorrow is my birthday." And then you pass it down the line and pass it down the line and pass it down the line. And by the time it comes back to the person who stated it, the message is, "It was a green turtle." Well, in our world where we're bombarded by so many sources of sound and voice over our telephones, over the TV, over any number of other ways that we get information, video games and so forth, we're bombarded by all sorts of sounds. And sometimes finding a place to be quiet is rather hard. It used to be I could go into a restaurant, maybe you could too, and it would actually be quiet. But as often as not now, there's piped-in music, top 40, or something that really jangles me. Maybe back in the day I would have wanted to get up and start moving, but no. But I think there's another kind of voice, another kind of sound, vocalism, that is even deeper than the external sounds, voices that come to us. And I think they're the voices inside our head. I was going to do this, but you might get the wrong idea. The point is that there are some voices, I think, that are down deep in us, down very deep, 50 fathoms down. And some of those voices tell us things that are hard to hear. And even though they're so far down in the basement of our brain, they still underlie the way we think about ourselves and about others. Maybe you've known someone who said, "Son, you're not living up to my expectations. You're a bad boy. You misbehave in church. I'm going to give you a whipping when you get home because you've been a bad boy." Or how about this one? The mother says to the daughter, "You're fat. You're too fat." Taking out her frustrations on her child, trying to make her child be svelte, a svelte that she will never attain herself. Or early on, you're a really terrible player, you're a really terrible soccer player, or you're dumb. And down underneath all that, those things long suppressed, those voices are still there. And unless and until we become aware of them, they will slowly corrode our lives and color everything that we do and see and everything that we hear. And that's why it's good for us to get quiet within ourselves. And in the midst of asking God for things, to simply, as if this is simple, become quiet and simply rest. And simply rest. Like a pebble at the bottom of a stream with the water flowing over it slowly. And to rest and to simply experience being alive in the moment. When we can see, or rather hear those voices when they rise up and tell them they need not worry. They need not worry, because there is a voice that comes from the outside to us that says, the most important thing we can hear is, no matter what, you are my child, the beloved. With you I am well pleased. That's the voice that Christ says to us as the Lamb, as his lambs and his sheep. You are my beloved, with you I am well pleased. And you are my beloved, with whom Christ is well pleased. Now, when that voice and those words cut through the sounds, the noise from inside of us, and the noises from beyond us, inside and outside, then we're empowered. Then we are focused. We have a path to go forward. Rather than being bombarded and confused by all the voices around about us and all the lies that we hear, thousands of them, we know that there is one person who is leading us forward and calling us to our highest and best destiny. And the energy that does that for you and for me and for the church is, I love you, my child. With you I am well pleased. And in that love, and in that buoyancy, and in that voice, take the energy that we need to go forward. And take that energy and that loving word to the world also. Whether it be in silence, whether it be in an act of love or compassion, or whether it be in the actual words. You know, God loves you. You know, God loves you.